Hello and welcome to another episode of Let's Grow channel. I'm your host Meraj Husen and I have someone very special today. Someone who is Assistant Director of Research and Access at Springfield College. Someone who served as the liaison to the honors program, first year seminar, Humanities and Social Sciences, Literature, Writing and Journalism, and the Visual and Performing Art Department at Springfield College. I have seen her in multiple of classes at various campus events. Let's welcome the one and only Mackenzie Dunn.
Thank you for that introduction. Wow, that was a lot.
Hello, Mackenzie. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well today. Thanks. Yeah, it's Friday. I'm excited.
What are you excited about?
I'm excited for the weekend, although I like being at work. It's.
What is your
The
plan
weekend
for
is
the
fun.
weekend?
Tomorrow, I'm going to Connecticut for my cousin's wedding shower. So that will be fun because it's a brunch. So, I'll see all my cousins, get some delicious food. So I'm looking forward to that.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Mackenzie, how many cousins do you have?
I have on that side, there's 9 of us. So I have 8 cousins, and on the other side, like 7 cousins. So I have a
Wow.
lot of cousins. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
cool.
fun.
It's fun. I have 6 siblings. I'm 6 brother and 1 sister from one mother.
Oh my gosh. Okay, you have a much bigger family. I just have 1 sister. Wow, 6 brothers and 1 sister.
Yeah, and like 5 years ago, we used to live 52 members in a same roof.
Wow, so
Yeah.
cousins, aunts, everybody.
Everyone.
Was it fun?
It was so fun.
Yeah.
Mackenzie, tell a little more about yourself.
Well, my name is Mackenzie Dunn, and as you said, I'm the Assistant Director for Research and Access here at Springfield College in the library. And I'm originally from Connecticut. I went to UConn for undergrad, and then I got my master's degree in library science in Boston at Simmons College, which is now Simmons University. I lived in Rhode Island for 11 years, and I really liked it out there. It was close to the beach. I had a great time living in Providence. And then I moved out to this area almost 6 years ago now. So I've been at Springfield College for about 5.5 years. So yeah, that's my trajectory. Those are I've only lived in New England. I've been other places, but I've only lived in New England, and I like it here. And I'm married, so I have a husband. His name's Matteo. He's from Italy. No kids, and as you just heard, I have one sister. Her name is Maureen. She lives in Rhode Island, and she has 2 kids, my 2 nephews. So I go visit her a lot because we're very close.
You said you spent like long years in uh, Massachusetts.
In Rhode Island.
In Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Tell us if I need to ask what is the one best thing about Rhode Island, what will you say?
Oh my gosh. I love Rhode Island. It's so weird. It's the smallest state in the United States, and it's not actually an island, although it does have some islands. And so people always forget about it. And it has just a weird culture. It has this thing called coffee milk, which is not coffee. It's like coffee syrup that you put in milk, and it's very delicious, and they're very proud of it. And what else do they have? It's nice because there's Providence, which is a fun city, and then you have the ocean. It has really good. I think it has really good beaches. Maybe someone who's from another state that has beach would say this isn't a good beach. It's cold and and rocky, but I like it. So it's got a surprising amount of nature for being such a small state. And let's see, what else do I like about it? It's just quirky. People are weirdos and they love it.
I like the concept of coffee milk. I was like, what? What are you
Yeah.
saying?
Yes, it's a like concentrated coffee syrup that you pour into milk and stir it up. So almost like we have chocolate milk where you put chocolate syrup into milk. This is with coffee, and it's pretty tasty. But I've never seen it anywhere else. I've only seen it in Rhode
I'm
Island.
so excited to taste that one.
Yeah,
I have never
I'll have to
tasted.
go the next time I go there. I'll get some and bring it back for you.
Thank you. So that's so kind of you. Mackenzie, I directly want to hit a very hard and big questions. I was doing a research and I found that only 27% of the people who did their major in bachelor degree they continue working in that field, and only 46% is people who did the major in their graduate continue the same major in their workplace. So I wanted to ask, what did you study in your school, and what did you originally wanted to become?
Yes. So I think that that's really interesting, though, that data. And I bet that there's a lot of reasons behind it. You know, the job market, jobs change. Sometimes you think you know what you want to do, and then you change your mind. And I know that students can be really stressed out sometimes. Like, am I picking the right major? Am I doing the right thing? My whole career is ahead of me, and I want to make sure that I'm picking the right thing. But I think part of college is just learning how to learn and learning how to think. So even if you end up going into a totally different field, if you learned some skills to be able to keep learning, then you'll be adaptable and you can get another job in the future. So I'm just saying that because I know a lot of students, I've heard a lot of students stressing out about, is this the right major for me? And if I pick the wrong major, I have no future. And you're like, no, look at that data. Like, only a quarter of people actually stick with their major.
Yeah.
75% do something else. So that's fine. So don't worry about it. What I did when I was very little, I wanted to work with animals, like be a veterinarian or something. And then I realized you basically have to go to medical school to be a veterinarian. And I didn't want to do that. That's a lot of work. It's harder to get into vet school than medical school, like for animals than for people, like to get into medical school.
Really?
So yes, it's more competitive. So I did not do that. I totally changed gears and I was an English major. I love reading, and I know that that feels really similar to libraries, but what I wanted to do was a teacher. I wanted to be a high school English teacher because I loved my English and literature classes when I was in high school. And I was like, I love these classes. I would love to teach it. I got to college, and at UConn, where I went, the University of Connecticut, you take 2 years of sort of your gen ed, your general education classes, and start getting into your major, but you don't apply to the education school. You don't start that till you're a junior. And so I had 2 years where I was taking classes, and I started getting really interested in everything. I took a psychology class, and I loved it. I took art history, and I was like, I'm going to be an art history major. That's so interesting. I would love to learn about art of the world. So I changed my major from like pre-education to art history. I almost changed it to psychology and then decided maybe I can just minor in psychology. But then I ended up applying to the School of Education, got into that. And so then I was taking education classes. I was like, okay, great. I've decided I am going to be a teacher. I am taking these education classes. This is going well. I'm still taking some literature because that was a subject I was going to teach. And then I started student teaching, where you go into schools and teach. And I got back into a high school and I said, I don't want to go back to high school. I liked high school when I was in high school, but now that I've been in college, there's no way I'm going to go back and be in high school all day, every day. You have to wake up at 5 in the morning. It's really, you have to, I was like, this is not for me. I like the age group. I like teenagers, like working with that group, but I didn't want to be in a classroom. So that was a big shift because once you were in the School of Ed and you were starting your student teaching, you were kind of like locked in to that program. So I had to make some big decisions that semester to say, all right, I'm not going to continue with my student teaching. I'm going to just graduate with the English degree, not the English education degree. And then what am I going to do? This was when I was going into my senior year. So I was like, okay, I have enough credits that I will graduate. That's no problem. And I'm going to have the English major, but what is my job going to be now? I was going to be a teacher. I had it all planned out. Now I'm not doing that. And I I was in my hometown at our local library, just, hanging out at the library because I liked the library. And I was thinking, oh, maybe I could be a librarian, but you have to get a whole different degree for that. It's a master's degree in library science. So I started investigating different library degree programs. There was a good one in Boston, and I was thinking that will be fun because um, UConn is kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's a college campus, but then it's surrounded by really small towns and cows and stuff. And I was like, I would like to be in a city, so I'm going to go to Boston, get my master's in library science. And my original plan was to work in a public library because I was really familiar with public libraries. I liked working with people. Um, but the first job that I got was just a part-time job at a college library, and that had never even occurred to me to be a college librarian. Um, and I loved it. I loved working with college students. I liked helping them find research. I was at a college that had a big business program, and I had no background in business, so I had to learn a lot about what we call business reference, which is answering questions about business and helping people with business research, which was very fun. And so I loved it because every day I was like learning a new thing because I had to learn our library systems and our research databases and all of that in order to help students. I was getting to teach a little bit because I was going into classrooms, as you mentioned when you introduced me. You've seen me in classes before doing my library lessons, but I didn't have I wasn't teaching like in high school where you have a class all day, every day. It was just kind of dropping in and teaching. So that was fun. So yeah, I really enjoyed the challenge of learning new research resources, and I love the age group. I love college students. So I was like, this is the place for me. So then I stopped thinking about doing public libraries and stayed with college libraries and kept going.
Yeah, thank you for explaining also like how you become the college librarian. I want to ask a follow-up question. How did you end up to the Springfield College?
Well, so I was working at Bryant University in Rhode Island for quite a long time, and my husband was living in New York City, and then he got a job at Amherst College, which is near here. So I said, okay, I'll finally leave my beloved Rhode Island and move out to Western Mass with you because we're married and I love you. So I will move for your job. But I was looking, there's a lot of colleges around here. So I was looking at, UMass Amherst and Westfield State and all the ones that are in this area. And I saw Springfield College and they had a job available. And I knew of Springfield College because my uncle went here. My uncle, who just retired, he graduated from here in 1979, and he did phys ed, and then he was a gym teacher his whole career, and was great. And so he was like that sort of classic Springfield College student because that was such a big program here. Is becoming a physical education teacher, and that's what he did for his career, which was great. So I knew that he loved Springfield College, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll apply to Springfield College. They have a job open for the outreach reference librarian. And that would fit really well with my interests because I love doing outreach. I love promoting the library to people and doing teaching and doing reference, like research work. So that's great. So I applied, came out for the interview, loved the campus. Everyone here liked me. It was great. So I got the job. So that was perfect because um, I was about to move out here without a job and just start looking. We had found a place to live. So I said, all right, I'm gonna give my notice at my previous job and move out here and see what I can find. And luckily, this job offer came through before I moved. So I started and already had the job, which was great. So it was very convenient timing for me, but it was a really good fit too. It was just like the job fit well, the place worked well. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. And Mackenzie came here as outreach and promotion, and she do one of the great job to promote the library in everywhere, even in the a lot of event I have been with you. You do the great job for library
Thank you.
promotion.
I try to. People know of the library, certainly. Students are always in the Learning Commons. They love it, but I think it's really hard for libraries to kind of like toot our own horn, like to say like this is why we're so great because we don't want to sound like we're bragging, but we also want people to know what we offer because we have all these free resources. Well, they're included in your tuition, but resources that you've already paid for that students should be using, but they can be kind of tricky to use. So that's why we want to like reach out to students and say, hey, here's some great resources. We can help you use them. Don't feel like you're on your own. So it's always reaching out to students and even faculty. Sometimes, your faculty don't realize all the things that we have. And so we have to remind them like, oh, the library can do that. The library can help you with that. So yeah.
I wanted to ask about one great thing. Besides the education and these other things, in the last week of the exam, library also served some type of a snack. What is the reason behind that? And what is that?
All right, so snack cart, the famous snack cart. The outreach librarian who was here before me, so she had gotten a job in Boston and moved, and that's why the job was available. It was great timing for me because she had just left, and so then I came in. And the snack cart was her idea. It was we used to do they used to do even more like end of semester. So we try to do some like stress relief things in the library. We'll put little like art stations around and puzzles and that kind of thing so students can de-stress. Um, they used to do, and I think it was because of COVID that the zoo stopped doing this, but the local zoo would bring in some animals, like a little petting zoo.
Oh wow!
Yeah, but like weird animals like lizards and and ferrets. But it was supposed to be like relaxing for students, and she did the snack cart. So when I came in 2019, and then you know we COVID had happened, and so I think the we had fewer events and fewer like off-campus people coming in, like the zoo thing. But we were like, what can we do? Like, what can we still do for students to help them relax during finals? We were like, we hardly ever spend money on food. A lot of other departments
Yeah.
on campus will have various events and stuff where there's food, and that's part of their budget is a food budget. And we don't really do any events with food. And we're like, let's just buy a bunch of snacks and fun stuff that students will like. And when they're super stressed, we'll take the cart around all 4 floors of the building and give them, Pop-Tarts and Rice Krispie treats and potato chips and just like little snacky things. And students love it. And our student workers, which you are one of our beloved student workers, one of our favorites, were here during finals this year. So I made you come with me and do the snack cart. And doesn't it feel good because you're making everyone happy?
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity. I think that is one of the best thing. Like everyone on this page, they love that. I
Yeah.
think that is one of the best thing we do at Springfield College Library. Mackenzie, I wanted to ask, you are like very passionate librarian. What does a typical day look like for you being a college librarian?
So a typical day as a college librarian, and I think, I'll say every day is different, which is true, which is what I like about it, is that every day is a little bit different. But some of the standard things that we do involve, for me, since I do a lot of outreach and I kind of manage the department that does reference, which is the research side, and instruction and that kind of thing. So an average day during the semester, might include going into one of my liaison area classes. So for instance, like art therapy or literature or Springfield College seminar, and doing a lesson. So I have to do lesson planning. So I have to look at, my agenda for the week. Typically early in the week, I'll say, what classes do I have scheduled this week that I've worked on with faculty? What materials do I need? Do I need to update my presentation slides? Do I need to have any handouts? Is there anything I need to do? So prepping for classes, doing sort of on-the-fly research and scholarship help. And so that can look like maybe a master's student or a faculty member or even undergrads will email me saying, I'm working on this project, I'm working on this, can you help me find this information? I have some faculty who are working on really big, like long-term research projects. So I'll get emails from them saying, I'm looking for census data from this year. Do you know if I can find it? And so it's digging into some research. So I'll have some time set aside to say, all right, I have to look at my emails and answer some research questions. I might have to, again, in the outreach view, I'm making a lot of digital slides for a digital screen, or doing an Instagram post, or going to an event or something to promote. I get to pick out the swag that we buy. So maybe like twice a semester, I'll look through our secret supply closet and see how much swag is left, and then say, do I need to buy more of those squeezy stress ball brains, or do I need to get more of those highlighters, or anything that's promotional for the library, and bring those around. I am looking long-term at our resources. So we try to make, our library staff makes a lot of what we call asynchronous tools, which are just basically research guides, tutorials, videos, stuff that lives on our website that people can use after hours to help them start their research, to help them figure out how to use a specific database. But we have to keep those updated. When you make a tutorial, the minute you finish it, the interface for the database changes. And you're like,
Yeah.
okay, I have to remake that tutorial because it has a new interface now, or I have to keep up to date. So keeping up to date on all of our resources so that we can make useful tools for people, that's something that we have kind of ongoing. So chipping away at that in time when I'm like, okay, I have some free time today. Let me look at this research guide, make sure all, like, none of the links are broken, make sure everything still works, make sure it has the most accurate information. If I have any screenshots of how to use this, I have to go take new screenshots because it changed. So that kind of thing is always going on.
Wait, Mackenzie, let me say one thing. I always think that library people do not do a lot of things. They might have just research. But now when you explain, I was just thinking to ask, what are the things that you do not do? You do everything.
What do I not do? Well, other people in the building. So for instance, on the 4th floor, if anyone goes up to the 4th floor of Learning Commons for the nice quiet study area, there's the office in the middle is collections and metadata. And in there is where all of the behind the scenes, like buying the books, navigating, like we negotiate prices with our vendors. We're keeping statistics on like usage for everything, so we know how much certain journals and databases are being used. And so that team up there is doing all the behind the scenes tech stuff and the like physical ordering books, sending out interlibrary loans, so like mailing books around, taking scans of chapters and sending those. So it's all the when you have a library book, it has like stickers on the side of it that have the call number and maybe says new books and all of that. They're doing all of that upstairs on the 4th floor. So I don't do any of that behind the scenes stuff. I'm very front facing, but we have a whole like operation going on up there. Yeah.
Mackenzie, thank you very much for explaining all the outer and inner, like behind and front
Hmm.
scene of the library. I didn't know about like library have this much things to do.
Hmm.
The library is itself a big task to do.
Yeah. And even like our website, we have a digital technologies librarian who kind of designed our website. And so she's doing all of the coding on the back end. So when we're changing things on the site, she's making it happen. So that's very fun. So we have people who can do coding. We have people who mail the books out. We have people who run the show. I mean, of course, you know Gretchen because she is our student supervisor. So she's running the show at the information desk downstairs and managing student workers. So there's kind of all these little bits and pieces that make it work. And I have to mention our archives too. It's not in the Learning Commons, it's across the street in the basement of Judd
Yes.
Gymnasium, which I'm looking at. I know you can't see it in the video, but I'm looking through the window and I can see it right across the street. Jeff, the college archivist, works over there. And we work very closely with him because he is part of the library, even though he's not in this building. Um, we have, for being a pretty small college, we have a surprisingly impressive archive. We have
Okay,
tons
yeah.
of stuff from the college history, from basketball history, all sorts of sports history, and people donate their collected papers to us. So he's managing all of that. A lot of it is digitized, so we have a digital archive, but some of it is still like in boxes and hasn't been scanned. So it's only in like hard copy over there. And so working with our archival collections is something that all the reference librarians have to know about them so we can answer questions. But sometimes we just say, I'm not sure, but we'll send you to Jeff, the archivist, because he'll know. So that's a whole separate side of the library, the archives, which is kind of, I think, an underutilized resource by faculty, staff, and students on campus because they don't really realize it's there, but it's like available for people to use. And we have a very cool history here. So that's something I would love students to look into more is the college archives.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for pointing that out, college archive. I think I went to college archive in from my college seminar, like
Mm-hmm.
honors class college seminar. It was so cool. Mackenzie, I want to ask, how does the library support the student, the grad student working on the research project and other student who is doing the depth research on any topic?
So for grad students or even like seniors who are working on a capstone, anyone who's working on like a big long-term project, or even faculty who are working on big long-term projects, there's different things to keep in mind than if you're just doing, a 5-page paper that's due next week and you're like, I'm going to do that the night before. When you have a long-term project, you have to really plan it out. So we can help with um, helping brainstorm and plan. So typically, if you're a grad student, you're going to be talking to your faculty advisor. You're going to be working with if you're doing an experiment where you need IRB approval, you're going to be talking to the IRB and submitting that. So if you're doing any sort of research where you might be using human participants, like a survey, a focus group, you have to get IRB approval to make sure it's like ethical and well designed to your experiment. You have to collect lots of other information. So you're doing your literature review, you're seeing who else has published about this. And that's where we come in, because that can be tricky to do that search, to know what are the right words to use to find everyone else who's researched this topic. So I make sure that my research question is kind of original and interesting and fits in with the existing scholarly work that's out there. So helping you do a good search, helping organize your materials, because I think the modern problem is there's too much information. So there's so much information. How do I organize it and how do I narrow it down to what's important? So we can help you set up. We really promote the software, the free software Zotero, which is a citation manager that you can use. There's lots of other ones available, just where you can kind of collect all of your resources, maybe annotate it, like write notes for yourself, get your whole bibliography kind of generated for you so you're not doing your whole works cited reference
Cited.
list by hand. It'll do that, so it's kind of got all your information in there. Um, and so we can help you set those up, help you do the search. We're very good for brainstorming, where to go with your work. And then I think, again, you're going to be working with multiple people. So the librarian is not the only person you're going to consult. You're going to talk to, like, again, the IRB, to your grad advisor, to your faculty, to your peers who are also working on papers and projects, but we're one part of like the support system that you have on campus. But yeah, I think for those long-term projects, and then sometimes there'll be resources that we don't have access to. So that's another thing to keep in mind. If you're doing the 5-page paper that's due next week, and maybe you need to find 3 to 5 sources for it. You can probably find those with things the library subscribes to in our databases and journals. If you're doing a thesis or a dissertation and you're going to have maybe hundreds of citations and yeah, I know, let's say 50 sources, but it might be like 100. We're not going to subscribe to all the journals. We might have a lot, but maybe you're asking a really specific research question and we don't have the journal that you need. It's helping you get access to, journals we don't subscribe to, which we can get through interlibrary loan, maybe a book that's only at another college. Maybe you need some archival research, like you need to find this really old piece of information that's going to help your thesis. We can try to track that down at another library. So again, data, sometimes looking for data because they might need to use a data set if they're doing some sort of analysis. They might need to track down, I mentioned census data earlier, but any of those other kinds of big data sets that are collected by governments or like intergovernmental organizations or market research data, all of that stuff. People like to use data in their research, so tracking those down, because that can be tricky to say, like, there must be a statistic about X, but I can't find it. Who might collect that information? Who might have that data? It's not coming up on Google because it's like buried in, their files. So doing that kind of detective work, that's what we can help with too.